How bad is it out there, Bernard Hodge?
It seems that the YouTube algorithm has advanced beyond all comprehension. They're evolving at a rate beyond their programming. It extends well beyond the trending and monetization. But now it's suggested feeds, and it seems to even be targeting subscribers themselves.
Damn it, Bernard Hodge, what are you trying to tell me?
I'm saying that people need to hit the notification bell now if they want to see your content at all. And Mug Club might be even more necessary than ever because YouTube has become a liberal shithole.
You say this like it's a bad thing.
What?
YouTube's algorithms are here to protect you. They're perfect. A progression, if you will.
Oh, shit! What the fuck?
Third chairsmen are in the studio today. We have the HodgeTwins with us. They've been here all week. How are you, twins?
Oh, we're doing great. How about you?
Doing great, man.
I'm doing well. I'm doing really well. Which one of you is Kevin and Keith?
I'm Keith, and that's Kevin.
Doesn't really matter. Producing with me in video studio is Not Gay Jared.
That was a lie. I'm calling a lie.
At Not Gay Jared. Meet us. Credit with your comments, your thoughts, your photoshops, like a film, allegations, sorry, conclusions. Are we good?
We're good.
At G Morgan Jr. Also one of the day.
Got the machete. Check out this label. See that?
Machete.
That's clean.
Look at that.
Oh, that's
was that
hot.
like Danny Trejo? Machete? No, that looks bad. Like if I were to see that on the label in the aisle, I'd be like, oh, that's a cheap wine. It's designed to appeal to fans of violence and anime.
No, that'd go good with some spaghetti, man.
See?
Couple dinner rolls.
Why'd you say spaghetti?
Dinner rolls. Throw some butter on that roll.
Level 3 sommelier and go with some spaghetti, man. We have, I don't know why my impression of you was like a cross between a black guy and the Silence of the Lambs Buffalo Bill. You're not going to bring fat girl. We have Ann McElhinney, Philip McLear, Nick DiPaolo on the show.
Wow.
It's going to be a slam bang show. And we're going to be talking about Donald Trump's war against the media because, of course, Acosta is so cute. He's been so mad. So question of the day before we move on. Donald Trump is obviously in hot water for continually referring to the media as the enemy. Where do you line up on that? Let me know. And if they aren't the enemy, or if they are the enemy, whose side do you think they're on? Are they on your side? Are they on the president's side? That's obviously that's a rhetorical question. Or is it their own? Let's define our terms. What do you think on that in the media? We'll get into it in a bit, but initial thoughts.
I think it is some fake news because you look at Fox, they're talking about something totally different, and they might be talking about the same thing, but it's a totally different spin when you look at it on CNN or definitely.
Yeah. Or really, if you look at it on Fox or this show, and then any other show. So that's the way that's how you know. One of them decided to separate from the pack. So we are going to talk about that, have some clips, have some resources for you that maybe you didn't necessarily know about, even talk about Citizens United. But first, leading things off in news of the day, donkeys in Santorini are becoming crippled because the tourists are too fat. This actually comes to us from Santorini. Let me make sure I get the quote. Apparently, these donkeys are being badly injured by being forced to carry overweight tourists. So every time, the next time you hear an angry fat feminist scream that fat pride is beautiful, remember this. Why would you want to do that?
It seems like he's crying.
But to be fair, in their defense, this one donkey was a big fan. He was really happy about it.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, right away. Don't hit the censor button, HodgeTwins.
Different bad to say. She was easily 400 pounds, man.
What do you do with the fat pride thing as fitness guys who got their start in the fitness channel deal?
What do you mean?
Well, what do you do when someone comes in and just, do you ever get people shaming you because, for fat pride?
No, just
black people don't like me because I'm Republican.
Other than that,
Yeah,
Call me
makes
Uncle
sense.
Tom. And
Yeah, I know. You still sounds like it stings when you say it that way.
It hurts, man.
You sound like Matt.
Oh, people don't love me, man. I've been outcast like in, what's that, Lion King?
Yeah, they sent us outside the Pride
Like
Land.
Scar or something. Where's like Scar?
Yeah, but Scar's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a good guy. You're right.
Yeah, you shouldn't be Scar. I don't know. But if anyone here, the first person who makes the Rafiki comparison is fired.
oh,
Stop it.
Ooh.
All of you. You know, that's a good thing. We could have been talking about characters, and someone's like, oh, yeah, Scar, Simba, Rafiki. And they're like, that is racist, and that person loses their job. Like, no, I didn't even think about it that way. Except for Papa John. He did. He screamed the N-word at the top of his lungs on a phone call. That was a
he was
mistake.
quoting someone.
I know. Apparently, by the way, he was.
I know, man. I'm for Papa John's, man. Uncle Tom.
So apparently, Facebook, have you heard, they might start holding singing competitions.
Oh, great.
This comes from The Verge.
Really?
Says the feature might let users compete against each other in a talent show of sorts, and the feature looks to be locked to Facebook pages, so it might only be something page administrators can initiate. But it's going to be an international talent show, effectively, and heavily favored to win in the front running right now is South Korea.
Touch my body, put me on the floor.
I'm scared.
Play me some more.
That's sex appeal right there.
Throw me on the bed.
I got an erection from that.
I don't think that's unnatural in 2018.
Yeah, you never really know these days.
What are you, a liberal?
It's just what Facebook needs. More strangers telling you how much you suck. Which, by the way, that guy, a lot of you don't realize, that guy's been around a long time. Like, did you notice he was one of the early YouTube memes?
Yeah.
He has All I Want for Christmas in there. All I Want for Christmas is you.
It's serious, too.
Jesus Take the Wheel is really, really funny. His rendition.
God, where have I been?
I don't know where you've been.
Doing productive things. Don't worry.
He's really, even Korean John Hughes licensed him.
Throw me on the bed. I just wanna make you feel like you never did. Touch my body, let me massage.
That's how you know he cares.
It's awesome.
Have you seen Say Anything? Is that like, do black people see those movies?
Yeah, I seen that movie.
We've
I
seen
haven't,
them? Okay.
Long time ago.
Don't lie.
We was teenagers, man. You forgot, man.
You just forgotten about
Oh,
it.
that's awesome.
In other news, I guess science news. Women now they're rubbing toothpaste on their breasts. This is part of a bizarre new beauty trend. So I think we have a video of this, right?
You're gonna apply this to
Yeah. No. Okay. Come on now, HodgeTwins. Stop
you
it.
go.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
Yeah,
Stop it.
that's
Stop it.
it.
All right. That's enough of that. That's enough. Let's stop rolling the clip. So apparently, it's containing toothpaste, cucumber, yogurt, flour, egg whites. They talk about how it helps grow their cup size. This is something that's going around right now. Yeah, and you have these, you have these YouTube experts. But actually, when it comes to Colgate on your breasts, 4 out of 5 dentists agree you're doing it wrong. But 1 out of the 5 is this guy. So
Yeah.
yeah,
he approves.
Yeah, he does. He approves.
He's a doctor.
He also doesn't complain about the coffee stains when you go in. When I go in, I'm like, you drink coffee? He's just going, drink more coffee. You got a cup and puts the toothpaste on the nipple.
Does it work? That's the
I do the blows on the nipple. Whoa. It's like that suction machine they put in your mouth.
Yeah.
Only do it in reverse. Oh, the toothpaste, go tickle, 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 the blah. I'm sorry that he's one of your community's representatives. And while some are saying it's a miracle solution, of course, others are claiming it's a fad or a fraud. Jesse Ventura is saying that it's actually a government conspiracy about fluoride on your breasts. So he's not happy. Hey, speaking of breasts, because we all were.
Just no.
I like breath.
I like chicken.
They need a minute. Don't worry.
Paramount released a first look at their female, completely fronted new Terminator. This comes from ABC
Just kill
News.
me. Really, just kill me.
The movie doesn't have a title yet, but the studios revealed what they call, did you read the breathtaking? Their breathtaking new shot of the kick butt women of the new Terminator movie with that. Do we have the image
see
here?
that.
So there you go. That's the breathtaking picture.
What the hell happened to Justin Bieber?
He's transitioning, man.
Give the man some space.
The liberals got Justin.
I'm pretty sure they always had Justin. He's from Toronto. But look Linda
Which way is
Hamilton,
transitioning? Because I've always been a little confused.
yeah. I love it. My favorite thing with Justin Bieber. You ever see the video where he's acting all hard and his own bodyguard just picks him up and
moves him out of the way.
Like, all right, that's enough of that. But Linda Hamilton, we bring that back up. Linda Hamilton, she looks good for a 62-year-old heroin addict. Like those veins are just screaming for opiates.
Yeah, she got some Hillary Clinton action going too.
Yes. Rumored title, by the way, is Terminator. Does this make me look fat? So it doesn't seem like they're shying away from it. And they're riding donkeys into the horizon. Riding donkeys at no Skynet.
I saw a bunch of tweets like, "Wow, Linda Hamilton looks like she can kick somebody." I was like, "No, she looks old and frail. Take the gun out of her hands and she."
You know what?
Every
You know
other
what
old
tough women
person.
look like? They don't. Hollywood doesn't like them, but tough women look like that broad who beat up a bunch of people at McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what an actual tough woman in real life, or maybe Ronda Rousey juiced.
Or like Linda Hamilton T2 days, like maybe a little.
They don't look
Linda
like that.
Hamilton, she has those giant. Take off those sunglasses. It looks like Iggy Pop.
Yeah.
Also, though, in the name of tolerance, Arnold Schwarzenegger was scheduled to make a cameo, which a lot of people were people were excited about. But
cool.
To be all inclusive, he's been recast as a transgender pansexual with cerebral palsy.
My CPU is a gender-neutral processor, a tolerant computer, and I won't let cerebral palsy stop me.
Could he stop?
Nice tan lines.
It looks like he's having trouble aiming too.
Yeah, we had to cobble that together, someone's leg. That's what looks so uncomfortable. Finally, before we get to the Trump media thing, a bad foot odor. I don't know why this was trending, led to an emergency landing on a Spirit Airlines flight.
Because it's Spirit Airlines.
Spirit Airlines, you guys know about that.
Hate those.
So Spirit Airlines flight from New York to Florida.
Flowing Spirit.
Had to bring in.
The boo's crazy.
The last time I was on Spirit, it was nothing but black people in like weaves through the aisle like a WNBA fight. It was just that was
Duct tape on the wings.
so.
Tickets on
It
that,
was an
like $10.
unexpected landing due to a mysterious smell. It turned out to be someone actually had just taken off their shoes. It was foot odor.
Oh,
They had
wow.
to stop it was an emergency landing. We actually, luckily, have exclusive black box audio of the incident.
Oh, that feels good. Oh, God, I'm telling you. My dogs are barking today.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Oh.
Just kill me. Just kill me. Kill me. Just kill me. Kill me. Just kill me.
It's almost like if something goes wrong on a flight, David Dow has to be there.
It's always like he's
everywhere.
preemptively on board.
Like he's selling Percocet to gay patients of his on the flight.
It's crazy because the lavatories are not large these days, especially on Spirit.
No.
Yeah.
Kind of a one-man deal.
And it's also crazy because you don't, as a gay man, you shouldn't have to sell Percocet for sexual favors.
There should be
getting it pretty easy.
Yeah, plenty of willing participants.
That's true. Remember David Dow? People forget, like, he was a doctor, David Dow. People got all mad when we were laughing at it, the initial story.
Yeah.
Then it turned out he was trading painkillers for sexual favors with gay patients. And he was only allowed to practice medicine in an outpatient facility like one Thursday a month. I'm going, well, what does it take to get it fully revoked?
He's on like this is the last straw.
Got to pull a Bill Cosby. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Just has a
Gotta start drugging
tip you
people.
off, though, to be putting in the coffee. Okay, I think he put something in the coffee. Kill me, kill
Oh
me,
my
kill me,
gosh.
kill me. All right, so by the way, hit the notification bell out there if you're subscribed, because subscriptions apparently don't mean anything. And of course, join Mug Club, $99. You're $69 if you're a student, veteran, or military. You can watch the show every day. Live stream Thursdays, every 8 p.m. Eastern. Let's talk about this main story. It was trending everywhere. Donald Trump has been making the press very angry. Before I explain it, let's just let CNN's finest, Jim Acosta, at a Trump rally tell you.
Jim, we've seen your videos, and I've been to these events too. I've met with countless Trump supporters. Even I was shocked at the level of vitriol that was aimed your way last night. Give us an idea of what it felt like to be in the middle of it.
Well, Essie, I mean, honestly, it felt like we weren't in America anymore. I don't know how to put it
You poor
any more
snowflake.
plainly than that. Americans should not be treating their fellow Americans in this way.
We weren't in America anymore. Now let's cut to CNN standing outside a 15-year-old's bedroom because he tweeted Trump's GIF. Yeah, that's Jim Acosta. I just, you've seen this a lot. They've blamed Trump's repeated tweeting. He says the fake news media is the enemy.
Yeah.
And I think that's a discussion that we can have. I don't support him in the idea of libel laws. Like I absolutely
Right.
believe in a free press.
100%.
And if people want to write op-eds that say Donald Trump is Hitler, they can do so. My issue is when they just say they're being objective news.
Yeah, and they're never being objective news. I actually pulled a little bit of a study. Like we saw something happen where Trump was kind of vindicated for what he did.
Right.
And I said, all right, guys, go to foxnews.com. You see this story right here? All right, that's one side. Go to CNN. wasn't even on the page.
No.
And they were the ones yelling about it earlier in the day until it came out that he was right.
Well, a good example, remember the shooter in Toronto?
Yeah.
Who shot, then when they found out he was a Muslim guy, you didn't hear about it after that.
No.
The initial reports, it was just some crazy white guy.
Well, we did the freaking CNN live stream and just showed people every single story that came across in the spin.
Wasn't there
I'm
an
still
illegal
recovering.
immigrant that like beheaded somebody?
I'm sure it's happened somewhere down the line.
I was about to say, that
You're not
doesn't narrow it
exactly
down.
rolling the dice when you can just say it, and I'm sure
It happened recently. I could have sworn.
That still doesn't narrow it down.
So he calls the fake news media the enemy, right? And I understand the term enemy probably,
Right.
but is it true? Are they actively Donald Trump's political enemies? Well, let's kind of go through that. CNN systematically actually hires Obama officials as reporters and contributors. Like who? James Clapper, Jim Scudo, Jim Sciutto, John Kirby, Dan Pfeiffer, Jay Carney. I forgot Samantha Vinograd. And they never tell you. They never tell you that they hire these people. People who are either actively or were formerly employed by the Obama administration. Not to mention, I mean, I could even go on. You have Van Jones and then MSNBC, Al Sharpton.
He's crazy.
Who just has a stroke every time he has to read the teleprompter. You ever seen that montage?
Anderson Cooper goes on dinner dates with Obama.
Yeah, well,
And
I'm sure that gets pretty
some.
spicy.
him and Don Lemon, who is looking increasingly like a dead Johnny Mathis.
Nice makeup job.
Yeah. Well, and the biggest problem is that they claim to be unbiased. They claim that they are the only source for unbiased news.
Yeah.
Well, and not just CNN, the media, but I don't know if you ever watched our video where Naked Jay went undercover at Antifa, Utah.
I missed that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably good. Probably a good thing. It wasn't necessarily even our most entertaining piece, but the reason it got so many plays was because they actually handed Naked Jared a knife. They handed him a knife or a shiv. They hand you a knife or a shiv?
Knife, both. I
It's the same thing,
I got
right?
a knife
That's right.
and ice.
I forgot. They gave you a knife and an ice pick.
Yep.
And then they said we have sawed-off shotguns in our truck.
Yeah.
And we're talking about how they were going to lure the Donald Trump supporters
AKs
out
and
there.
yeah.
AKs. The girl had a stun gun. And here's the thing. What's crazy about that isn't just that happened, but we had this footage, right? Them openly handing a knife and an ice pick. And we had media, not a single local or national media outlet covered it or wanted the footage. We said, look, here's the footage. Here they are handing him a knife right now, talking about stabbing Ben Shapiro attendees. The only people who wanted it were the feds who escorted you into their truck to offload the footage.
Eventually, ABC, after it become a huge story from our video, they little blurb in there, little nightlines about Ben Shapiro.
And
little blurb.
Yeah.
And a little blurb, what was a little
blaming
blurb
him
they said,
for being a
but it didn't lead
provocateur.
to anything. The person in the video who was handing you the shiv, I believe,
was arrested.
She was arrested later that night for using the same weapons in the video. And like the video didn't lead to anything. Well, they can't just arrest her right then, but they kept an eye on her. And that's what I remember watching. We were all shocked, going like, none of them have an interest. We're going, it's right here. It's on the laptop.
Yeah.
We're going to give it to them. Do you want it as a story?
Yeah.
We offered them the exclusive. No interest.
Yeah.
Hopefully they were looking for Nazis who show up at Ben Shapiro rallies, apparently.
His supporters, you never
The
know.
thing that really gets me is, listen, I understand that Trump, he talks out of his rear a lot, but he's never actively pushed for any legislation or any kind of ban to jail CNN journalists, right? He just calls them bad names. Compare that to Obama, who actually used the Espionage Act to prosecute journalists and leakers more than all other presidents combined. It's a completely undeniable fact. It's coming from Variety. Hey, you want to call that fake news? Is it fake news now? Is it fake news now? Or compare Trump's words to Citizens United. Have you heard of Citizens United? People complain about that a lot. They talk about like super PACs, get money out of politics. Yeah. This isn't a trick question because most people don't know, and that's what I appreciate about you guys. You're not coming out and it's like, hey, you're black. What's your conservative black talking points? Like you bust each other's balls and we can have fun. And you guys happen to be more right leaning because you're in the military and you're not idiots.
Yeah, pretty much it. And I got common sense.
Yeah. I don't expect you to do a Facebook rant anytime soon. They're like, Obama? You got something coming. It doesn't seem right up your alley.
That said, I'd pay to see that.
Maybe while doing curls. Yeah.
Yo, Obama.
Obama.
I'm coming for you, Obama. And when I'm done with you, I'm coming for Michelle.
Michael.
That's not a threat. That's not a threat.
It's Michael.
Is that true? Because I see them videos. I was like, man, this might be true.
It's just realistic enough.
All of us have had that conversation.
I mean, all this makes sense. The shoulders, the fingers, the head size. Joan Rivers started all this, right?
The fact that she can
She
squat
can put
more
3
than
heads on her shoulders, man. Oh, that's what
she can squat more than her husband.
Yeah.
You see, they're both fitness videos. I'm like, didn't you guys just think that these were going to be released in tandem? I mean, would you ever let your wife release a video where she's outlifting you by 30 pounds?
I would.
No.
I actually missed it. I need to see that.
Oh, yeah? Oh, it's terrible. She's just sitting down on a bench with, dumbbells. But I think they're heavier than her husband's. So, Citizens United. This is something a lot of people talk about, get money out of politics. And they don't really know what Citizens United is. Lee Dorn, who was on the show this week, did a great video on it. It's basically based on Hillary Clinton. There was an anti-Hillary Clinton documentary out. And people within the Hillary Clinton campaign, people who had political leverage, wanted to ban this documentary within 30 days of a 2008 primary. So that's what Citizens United, it was against Citizens United. It was the court case revolving around banning an anti-Hillary documentary close to a primary election. Now, people think it was about the PACs. No, that just ended up being one of the ramifications. But in the court, if you go and you look at it, the people arguing on the Hillary Clinton side, this is what was so crazy about that. They asked if the author of a book, should he write a message at the end of a book, right? They said, should he, let's say an author wrote a book, and at the end of the book, he wrote a message about who to not vote for. Should that person be banned? Should that person be prosecuted? And the people on the side of Hillary Clinton, they said yes.
Gosh.
They wanted to ban, but they had to say that in court, and that was the moment it changed.
That's just basic free speech.
If you go and read the transcripts.
Come on.
So it's crazy. The left goes absolutely nuts if President Donald Trump calls out the media for knowingly posting dishonest content. And by the way, Donald Trump does that sometimes too. Sometimes he knowingly posts dishonest content.
Right.
I'll give him that. But when he calls them out for it, people are outraged. But when Hillary Clinton stands on stage and screams this,
I will defend voting rights and make it absolutely a priority to finally, whether it's through Supreme Court appointments or constitutional amendment, to get rid of Citizens United and its pernicious effects on our electoral system.
Let's be really clear here. Citizens United was about an anti-Hillary Clinton documentary. What she's saying right there, she's saying she will actively send you to jail. She wants to pass into law her ability to send you to jail for making a naughty video about her. And she performs that to cheers.
And it's a pretty easy thing for us to make naughty videos about her. She gives you a lot of media. Here's the bad.
By the way, she actually did send someone to jail for a video.
And a lot of people to the grave, too. So the real big challenge here is when you start to call Donald Trump the names that they're calling him, that's when I think we've crossed the line. When you start calling him like a Nazi or a dictator or somebody like that, you're starting to demonize a person. And it just breaks apart to where nobody can trust anybody, and bad things tend to happen when that line is crossed.
I mean, what's worse, calling him a Nazi, calling him a white supremacist, or him saying, you're the enemy?
Well, I think they're both. I think they're both to some degree wrong, right? The media is not the enemy. They just do a really, really bad job, and they're spinning stuff for their own bias. I get it, right?
Yeah.
But
I think they are the enemy of the American public seeking accurate information.
Yes, like if you're seeking for truth, they are the roadblock for you
I would
to see
say
truth,
that.
right? And
Personally,
I think it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Personally, I think the media, I think they're making black people racist to white people. I'm serious.
Absolutely, right?
How so?
Yeah.
How so?
I mean,
pull a Matt Damon, shut up and listen. The black men are talking. I should have shut up and learned. Remember when he said that about the woman thing? No, but seriously, I'm curious. Why do you think
we
that?
posted some pro-Trump stuff, right? There was some black people saying blacks for Trump, and the comments from black people were horrible. Like, look, they look like slaves. And it was like, and people was like,
strongest damn slaves I ever seen. Watching too much Amistad.
We was getting messages, and they were like, "Oh my God, he's racist." I'm like, "He's not." Can you point out how he's racist? Can you tell me?
Yeah.
Well, what he said about the Mexicans? I said, "What did he say about the Mexicans?" He said they're all rapists. I said, "No, you."
Good job. Good catch.
No, you idiot. He was talking about the illegals that come in and commit crimes. And it's like, oh, whatever. You guys are sellouts. You guys are clowns. I've been watching you guys for years, and y'all broke my heart. I hope you burn in hell. And actually, man, it destroyed when he said burn in hell.
Ex-girlfriends don't count as generic Instagram comments. Were you going to say something other?
Yeah, I mean, we was raised in, like, my mom, she taught me when I was a little kid, she said, you see, that Democrats is for the black folks. See them Republicans over there? They racist.
Did your mom sound like she was...
But my mom didn't know about, because she grew up during some tough times, some Crow days. Yeah.
What's funny is when you do an impression of your mom, you do like a racist black voice.
I get away with it, man. I'm 52% black, man.
It's like a black guy doing the racist white guy voice, but you make your mom sound like she's in Roots about... They voted Democrats. I'm uncomfortable with all of this. Anyway, you guys, speaking of uncomfortable,
Exactly. Here
by
we
the
go.
way, the HodgeTwins have offered to actually be sacrificial lambs here to get over their fears. They are not big fans of dogs, from what I understand.
Nah, dogs like to bite me. Yeah.
Now,
do you give them reason?
I don't trust dogs. No, I remember I just walked in the yard and dog, this big black chow came running out. I was like, oh! And it freaking, hey, you remember that time we was they gave us some chocolate Santa Clauses for elementary school to sell because we was in middle school. We was in middle school. The basketball team didn't have no money, so they was. You know, they had to raise money for the uniform. Raise money.
Why were you in someone's yard?
Yeah, I was about to say.
Trying to sell them chocolate Santa Clauses.
So you went in their yard?
Yeah. Say, hey, I'm trying to raise money for my basketball team. Got some chocolate Santa Clauses for you.
Yeah.
Well, when I got bit, I was actually a door-to-door vacuum cleaner salesman.
Oh, man.
I used to sell Kirby's door-to-door.
That's the worst possible thing because all dogs hate vacuum cleaning. That's the one thing. Hopper, even when we brought him in to get bathed, they were like, oh, man, we love him. But when we try to dry him, he really hates the blow dryer. I'm like, yeah, he's got a thing about it. It looks like a gun. He doesn't like guns. Well, we didn't know. We were scared for a second once we shut it off. So, so now were you in the front yard or backyard?
I was in the front yard. It was front yard.
Yeah. Sounds like you're retroactively changing the story.
Yep, a little bit.
I don't know how many times I've been walking home from the store and I'm just walking down the road and dog just comes out of nowhere and starts chasing me. So that chow, it was like all black tongue, black gums, black fur, black eyes. The only thing white around was right around his eye, and it was just them big ass. He had some big fangs he had too.
Describing black on black crime at this point. I don't know why you're upset.
It's a Chicago dog. So the dog comes running out, and then as I'm turning to get away, there's the sign, beware of dog. I'm like, where the hell was that?
Yeah, it didn't really help you. Well, you know, we're all about getting past our fears here at Louder with Crowder in all capacities. And so actually today, for the first time, you're going to be feeding Hopper, which brings us to our next and final segment.
Feed a dog? What are you talking about?
And now, the HodgeTwins get over their debilitating fear of dogs.
All right, so you're going to be feeding because when you first came here, I didn't realize you weren't fans of Hopper. You saw him and you were like, you got to lock him out.
That dog's a killer.
Yes, but
well, okay. Your exact words were you thought he was a very large dog.
Yeah, it's like his neck is like big enough to swallow my arm.
If he were so inclined.
Yeah.
Okay, but we've talked about this before. Like we said, you don't have to do this, but everyone here knows Hopper pretty well. And Gerald, you know Hopper.
Fantastic dog, wonderful
Fantastic dog.
He's only killed 3 people that we know of.
Very popular show. Yeah. None of them were vacuum salesmen.
None of them. So
one was a hairdryer salesman, but he had it coming.
He did, yeah.
So obviously you don't have to. But we're just going to have you and follow my instructions. Feed him some cheese because Hopper loves cheese.
That's what that is.
That's what that is. You just give him some cheese. I'll instruct you. And on a scale from 1 to 10, how nervous are you?
My heart rate is increasing right now.
It's because you just drank a whole monster.
I can feel some sweat rolling down my back right now. I'm trying to play it cool. It's getting tight. I don't want to look like a little girl on your show.
I completely appreciate it because if someone said I had to pet a tarantula, I wouldn't do it.
Oh,
now the difference is,
I draw the line there.
Perfect segment.
No one could promise me the tarantula wouldn't bite me. So I promise you, Hopper's not going to bite you. We'll bring him out. You just feed him the cheese, follow my instructions, and you'll be good to go. He's gonna love you. Maybe he'll become dog people.
Yeah.
By the way, my Canadian producer Johnny Boy, he had no idea this was a cultural thing. Black guys with dogs.
Yeah. Well, you see it on TV. White people sicking dogs on black people. So, well,
it's been a while. I mean, come on.
You see the civil rights?
It's like 50 years ago.
K9's eating black people.
Just a German Shepherd and a fire hose outside of a diner. It really is rough. Okay, all right, but so just grab the cheese. What I want you to do is just have the cheese right now. Each have a piece of cheese. And when we're going to bring him in, you're just going to say in a high voice, "Hey, Hopper, come over here." And you're just going to give him the cheese. You can either hold it like this or just hold it in your palm and just say, "Hey, gentle." And he's going to...
So don't do it like this.
You can do it like that with Hopper, like I do.
Because if I do it like this, he just bite my whole damn head off.
He's very well trained.
He's very well trained. So just high voice. And, hey, Hopper, come over. And if he doesn't come over to you, then we'll just abandon the whole experiment because that means there's something he doesn't like about you. All right, Johnny Boy, let's bring in the Hopper monster. And there we go. Come on, where is he? Hopper, okay, call him over so he knows to go to you guys.
That's a pit bull.
It's not. It's a dog. Just call him and say, "Hey, Hopper."
Say it.
Hopper.
Hey, Hopper, look, they got cheese.
They got cheese.
Calm. They got cheese over there. Over, not me, them. He's not going to come if you don't call. Just keep it really down.
Ah, shit. Oh, you see the bangs on him? Here, give it to him. Here. I ain't giving him shit. Give it to him. You give it to him.
Hopper.
Look at the dick on that dog.
You're not going to give him the second cheese?
Keith got give it to him. I ain't giving him shit. Oh, that tickled.
All right, Larry. See, it wasn't that bad.
Look how wet my head is.
All right. Okay, Hopper, come on, get out of here. All right, this has been the Hodge twins getting over their fears. Or not. We'll be back with Ann McElhinney and Philip McAleer and Nick DiPaolo after this. It wasn't so bad.
It was terrifying.
It just isn't done that well.
Hello, Hollywood Crowd of viewers. Hopper here. Don't forget that you can listen to the podcast on the go on iTunes and SoundCloud. And the audio, you can download it, and you can listen at your leisure.
I do want to be like Peter Pan, but that movie was way too much for children.
It was.
They put Glenn. It was Glenn Close who was that pirate.
That was frightening. I didn't know that until like 18 years later.
People out there, send me your tweets at SCrowd if you remember the Boo Box. We'll talk about it at the end of the show. But that is the kind of thing that if it were in a Quentin Tarantino film, you'd be like, oh, that was a little too much.
Also Phil Collins.
Yeah. Also, all of the above. For some reason, it was seen as a flop for Spielberg.
Hey, this is a classic.
Fat black kid made that film. He rolled himself up into a ball, said bang rang. All right, listen. Our next guests, I'm huge fans of them. When I get voicemails, I hope it's one of two people. Either Austin detectives investigating the transgender Juiceland debacle, who are horribly confused, or our next guest, you can follow them on the Twitter at Ann McElhinney and Philip McAleer, but they also have a film that I don't want to reveal too much. Let's show a clip of the Gosnell film, for which they are, of course, now notorious, and then we'll get some info on it.
What do the feds say? They're saying it's a drug case.
It is a drug case.
Woman goes into a clinic, gets drugged to death by some untrained teen, and that's just a drug case?
That's a lot of assumptions, Woody. We don't know that any of that's true.
Karnamaya Monger, okay, 41 years old. Her husband and her kid get chased out of Bhutan for some ethnic cleansing bullshit. I don't know what it is. They spend 20 years in a straw hut in a refugee camp in Nepal, only to finally make it to the good old USA. 4 months later, she goes in for a procedure with Dr. Oxy. Now she's dead and no one seems to give a damn?
That was not Van Jones in that film, for people who are confused. The Hodge twins who are here can confirm it today.
Oh, what a get.
Ann McElhinney and Philip McAleer, how are you both? Thank you for being here.
We're great. We're great. Thanks very much for having us, Stephen.
Thanks, Stephen. Well, I'm so glad to have you, and we've talked about Gosnell on the show before. We've talked about the film before, but as I understand it, you have some very big news regarding the release of it. The floor is yours.
Yeah, we're really happy to say that the film is coming out October 12th in theaters, 750 theaters across the country. And you know, it's been a long time coming to this moment, and it hasn't been, any part of it hasn't been easy. But we're really, really happy about this. So it is coming to a theater near you, and we need everyone to come on the 12th of October. It is really important that we have a massive crowd that night.
750 theaters, that's a big release. And I remember at one point you were going for release and then hoping maybe for a TV kind of licensing deal, and it went back and forth. So, I mean, this is for an independent film, especially a right-leaning film about an abortion doctor. That's as good as it's ever been. You guys have to be really taking a victory lap.
Yeah, we're feeling we're feeling good about it.
We're feeling good, and you know,
the timing couldn't be better as well. You know, with what's happening at the Supreme Court, this is an incredible moment for people to start to really focus on what is at stake here and what in fact is going on in America. Exactly, you know, what the laws are, which most people don't seem to know, that you can have an abortion in America up to 9 months. Right. You know, people need to know that, and people need to know how they do abortions. You know, they need to know the details. Now, the film is not graphic, however.
Yeah,
it's
that was one thing. Yeah, we were very careful not to make the film graphic or gory.
Right.
It's a courtroom drama. It's about the trial Kermit Gosnell.
And we got a PG-13 rating.
Well, it's almost like the abortion version of The Exorcism of Emily Rose. A lot of people thought that was going to be a scary, horror, gory, but it was really a courtroom drama, and fantastically done, by the way, if people have not seen Exorcism. The only way I will say in which it's graphic is sexily, because Dean Cain is in it, and every time I see him, I just get very comfortable with myself. But one thing I do want to touch on, you just mentioned this, we've talked about it in the show, you talked about the Supreme Court and how most people don't understand the laws in this country, particularly Roe v. Wade, because right now they're saying, oh my gosh, they're going to outlaw all abortion and they're going to put their hands on our uteri, I think is the plural. You know this as well as anybody. Explain probably the most common misconceived notions people have about abortion laws in the United States today.
Oh, I mean, they know nothing about abortion, actually, in my experience. People know nothing about abortion law. Even the prosecutors who prosecuted Kermit Gosnell didn't know the abortion law in their own state until they had to look it up. And they were shocked, 2 women, they were shocked that it was 6 months in Pennsylvania. People don't know that in about 7 other states, it's 9 months. You can have an abortion. If you can get a doctor to agree to it, have an abortion up to 9 months. People don't know the mechanics of it. Now, you know, they will learn a lot from this film, but they'll also learn a lot about a courtroom drama. They'll learn a lot about a serial killer.
They're going to learn a lot about the media who didn't cover the trial in the first place.
They're going to learn a lot about. Yeah, they're going to learn a lot about Dean Cain with his shirt off. You know.
There you go. Well, there you go. There's the silver lining. It sounds like a rough ride, except you mentioned you slide Dean Cain in there, then everyone's all ears and ready to go see it. So 750 theaters. We've talked about this. I think Colorado, if I'm not mistaken, it's either 24 weeks or 26 weeks, the abortions in Colorado.
No, Colorado is actually one of the states where you can have a late-term abortion. There's a clinic in Boulder, Colorado, quite a famous clinic where you can have an abortion right up into the 3rd trimester. And it's Colorado, Kansas, California, Oregon. I mean, it's very, very shocking, actually, the number of places. I think Maine as well. And people don't know that. I mean, one of the interesting things about this case, this Gosnell case, is that the jury in the Gosnell trial, got an amazing education. They were specifically chosen so that they were not pro-life. And so they got this education of what abortion really was, because they had to distinguish between what was a legal abortion and what was murder. Right. And I can tell you, when they heard the description of legal abortion, they were profoundly shocked. And all of them thought that the laws should have been changed.
Yeah, that is well. When we did the Change My Mind, I'm pro-life, the one thing that seemed to be kind of a trump card, and it was when we brought out the fetal chart. And we didn't bring out pictures of abortions. It was nothing graphic. It was just, this is the development of a baby each week. Now, where would it be okay? And we've had some people who thought they were okay with abortions, up until 15 weeks, or up until they said, about maybe week 3. And then we've had some people who responded with, I think it's okay the whole way up. I said, okay, up until 9 months. And you do realize there are some hearts that are so hardened, and I hate to see it, but evil. When you look at a 9-month-old baby that just happens to be inside the womb, and you say, I'm fine with it, you're not trying to convince them. You're trying to convince the other people who are watching you discuss. Tell me about you've done some pre-screenings around the country. What have those been like? What's the reception been like with the audience? Because I'd imagine, you have a mixed audience as far as pro-life and pro-abortion.
Yeah, I mean, they've been amazing. I mean, we've done focus groups, and it's been like Saddam Hussein's elections. 98% love it. The results are almost embarrassing. Everyone is so positive towards it, and even, as you say, pro-abortion people. We had one friend, a complete liberal, had to leave after the film, went out onto the terrace, started chain smoking, and said, "I'll have to rethink everything."
Yeah, we've had people.
But the film is not preachy. We didn't set it out to be preachy. We set out to tell the story of how this guy was brought down and what people learned on the process and how dramatic it was. And it is a movie, it is a drama, but you get to see things that are true. It's very much based on a true story.
And one of the things that we're doing right now, Stephen, that your audience could help us with is one of the things between now and the 12th of October, we're traveling around the country doing these pre-screenings, sort of sneak screenings, so that we kind of fire up people, we get champions for the film. Sure. So if anyone's out there listening, particularly in places like Orlando, I'm just going to quickly look at my list here. Orlando, Dayton, Honolulu, Indianapolis, Detroit, St. Louis. I just want to say that Honolulu, I will go myself.
Yeah, but by the way, St. Louis to the Americans here is St. Louis, but yes, continue.
Okay, St. Louis. Kansas City, Columbus, Tupelo, Cleveland, Akron, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Portland, Vancouver, Greenville, Spartanburg, Nashville, Knoxville, San Antonio, Lubbock, and Abilene. They're just a few of the places that we really need to go to. And what we'll do is we'll have a pre-screening. We want to work with groups, though. We don't want to work with individuals. So any organization out there who hears this, or anyone who listens and knows an organization in any of those areas, please get in touch with us.
And
we want to have...
What's the best way to get in touch with you, Anne?
The easiest way to get in touch is go on the Gosnell Movie Facebook page, and write to us. You can write to us through the Gosnell Movie Facebook page and let us know if you want us to come to your area and have a pre-screening. And Dean is going around the country showing the film as well.
Or go to the Gosnell Movie website, gosnellmovie.com, and there's
you can sign up there.
There's a contact page there.
Yeah.
So.
Just be careful in Abilene. It's the worst place I've ever been in my life. And I say this as someone from Detroit. My jiu-jitsu coach almost got shot in Abilene, and then I did the worst stand-up gig in my life at a Saturn dealership back then when I was picked from MySpace. It was $500, and I had to read off the raffle tickets, and an angry drunken lady told me that I wasn't funny and she was going to hit me. And the other one was, this is a true story in Abilene, jiu-jitsu coach gets cut off, road rage, a guy comes out, threatens to beat him up, and his friend says, he's Brazilian, he says, hey, no, you don't want to, he's world champion jiu-jitsu, don't. So the guy goes, what? He runs out, grabs his gun, and starts shooting it, actually, in the air, in the ground. We get a call, the guy, he shoot at him. And I don't want to say the name. We're like, he shot him? No, he shoot not at him, but he's gun. We're like, well, you have to let us know the truth now. What's happening? My jiu-jitsu coach jumped in the bushes. So that happened in Abilene. Final question before I go, because I do love your style of filmmaking. One of my favorites, of course, is Not Evil, Just Wrong, for people who don't know about global warming, and it talks a lot about Al Gore and the lies there. And it's done really well. It's a good film. And then I'm trying to remember, the Gasland one, what was...
Frack Nation.
Frack Nation. Okay, sorry. I always, because Not Evil, Just Wrong. Frack Nation was probably my favorite one because I love the tit for tat with Gasland, since it's a film, to Frack Nation. Yeah, Josh Fox, who for some reason was still able to make a Gasland too. Have you been following it all in Lake Michigan? I was just in Lake Michigan recently, and some of the Great Lakes have record highs, and some of the Great Lakes only have 17 to 25-year highs, but some of the best growing seasons ever. I don't know if you've been following this at all in the Midwest, but do you take that one as a victory lap? Because I'm going, hey, can you give us this one? I spoke with one person out there, a neighbor who's a liberal. He's like, well, it's not record high, it's 25-year high. And I said, but you said it was going to be gone by now. There would be no Great Lake. It's a constantly moving target.
Yeah, no, I think it's a bit early for a victory lap. I mean, being an environmentalist means never having to say you're sorry. They'll just move on to the next scare. They'll change it from global cooling to global warming to climate change to climate chaos. So they keep moving the goalposts. Well, all right. We do have to get going. So that is Anne McElhinney, Philim McAleer. The film, of course, is the Gosnell Movie. They can go to the Gosnell Movie Facebook page. And listen, by the way, people out there, you really can make a difference. We just talked about this. You know, Tommy Robinson was freed. He went home. He won on appeal. There is the legal battle that occurs, and there's also the battle of public opinion. And I hate for people to be tried by a public jury, but I do like to see people supported. This isn't a boycott. This isn't a hanging by public execution. This is go and support the people who are doing the work.
People need to come out. People need to come out on the 12th of October. They need to fill the theaters. People who can't get to a theater where the movie is on, buy a ticket anyway. I know a woman, a very good supporter of ours. She buys tickets for every conservative film that comes out. She buys like 5-6 tickets anyway, and you can do that online, and we're asking people to do that.
Okay, I'll tell you this. I can't do it. I may not be able to do it for the pre-screening, but we'll work it out. I will personally buy 40 tickets for October 12th for a theater once it happens, or maybe we can do some kind of a viewing party, but we'll do that as a giveaway. Send in if you want to go at S. Crowder. We'll name the city, and hopefully we'll meet up with you, and we'll do it. I'll buy 40 tickets, and I want people to get out. Thank you so much, you guys. God bless. We'll be back after this. Oh, we're going to be back. It's time for the one live read of the week. Don't worry, we're not going to be selling you like boxes filled with wasabi almonds or something, or things that you don't need but you feel like you have to buy to support the show. You don't have to buy anything. You could just watch the clips and the live stream every 8 p.m. On Thursday. If you need to buy a firearm, Walther has the balls to sponsor the show, and I will personally vouch for them being the best semi-automatics in the market. It's an opinion, but I really do stand by it. And Mug Club, louderwithclouder.com/Mug Club. That's where you get to watch the whole 1 hour show. You see this on Thursday, but it's every day for Mug Club members. $99 a year, $69 for students, veterans, or active military. Like I said, there's 15 people employed by this company, a lot of whom you don't see behind the scenes, and YouTube doesn't YouTube's not cutting the mustard. So the only way that we continue to do this free content and surpass the Young Turks as we are, which feels kind of nice, is if you join up at Mug Club. Also, that's a good point that we should mention to you. We are growing the team. We've done this before. Golden ticket hires. You can go to lotterwithcrowder.com/join. If you are experienced, we need some more editors, specifically editors, and people who are really talented in the videography space. So don't apply if you don't have experience there, but if you do, there are a couple positions open now, and then certainly before Christmas as we grow. We've been growing because of Mug Club, and we're never going to stop the free content. We're just going to use the Mug Club to grow the non-Mug Club because we're just a stick in their craw, and we love it. lotterwithcrowder.com/Mug Club. That's called the I Wasn't Dancing. You just sit there and you pose like you weren't dancing. People go, was he dancing? And you're like, no.
It's the new dance. It's called the not dancing.
It's like a mirage of dancing.
Hannah Gatsby of dancing.
Speaking of which, it's almost like it was a mirage. The last time our next guest was on the show, he had a shiner. He had a black eye because he was punched by an angry hippie in Birkenstocks at a comedy club, which everyone told me, swore up and down, would never happen when I said they were coming for the comedy clubs. They thought, no, it's going to stay in colleges. Well, there you go. So I don't think we can get too many updates because, listen, there's legal issues there. But Nick DiPaolo, at Nick DiPaolo is his Twitter, and his new podcast is up and running. You can go to nickdip.com. Nick DiPaolo, how are you, sir?
Davey boy, what's happening? You look good, you look young, you look healthy, you make me sick.
Well, thank you very much. That's all I've ever wanted. But it looks like you have a nice set there. What is that? You kind of have a Doctor Who meets Tim Burton vibe?
I found this old photo online of the Union Oyster House, like the oldest restaurant in the country in Boston. I used to get, 22 beers of me and then order 40 oysters.
Yeah.
And go home and play with myself. But
it actually doesn't sound half bad. It sounds like you get violently ill, but it doesn't sound like a bad time.
No, those are happy days. And I found the photo online. I found the guy who took the photo. We got in touch with him, happened to be a fan of mine in Michigan, by the way.
Really? Wow.
Yes. Boy.
Where in Michigan?
I want to say Lansing, but I'm not sure.
Well,
I can't remember his damn name, or I'd give him a plug, but
can't win them all.
So he told me to file for $200, and we produced a rap. And
well, $200 that goes really far in Lansing. It might get you some tap water that's not contaminated.
That's like three hookers in Lansing.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's like 19 hookers in Lansing. They're not necessarily fetching the most pretty price. I mean, Detroit is the worst city in the country, but when I have to visit Lansing, you really are sent to Lansing. It's terrible. So there is no news in the lady in Birkenstocks who hit you in the face. I'm guessing. I don't want to put you on the hot spot. But let me ask you this. While we're talking about ladies in Birkenstocks, we just had Mike Ward on the show this week who, is put before a human rights tribunal in Canada for a joke. This actually happens in Canada.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the Hannah Gatsby special on Netflix. Have you seen this?
I haven't. I don't watch Netflix since they're not interested in me. I watch Leave It to Beaver reruns and The Munsters as protest to these. I couldn't get on Netflix. Like, you have to be an LGBT one-armed midget Cuban to get a special. Yeah. They literally handed out 30 specials, and I think there was one straight white guy.
Yeah, it was Joe Rogan. Yeah. And there was a prerequisite that you have to talk about pot for at least 30% of the special to be able to do it as a straight white guy.
Exactly. So I have no interest.
Which is odd to me. Here's the one thing I will say. I have seen one of your specials on Netflix, or am I mistaken? Did they license an older one maybe at some point?
Yeah, that was quite a while ago. I think it did make it to Netflix long time ago.
Okay. Yeah. And then it said, "You're watching this. Do you want to watch Hannah Gatsby?" And I said, no. And I said, "I think you want to watch Hannah Gatsby." And then it rated it up for me, and my special is filled with Amy Schumer and Sarah Silverman now, and I have no idea why. I can't get beyond it, so I have to cancel Netflix. But it's a good point that you make. Netflix isn't very interested in you. We talked about that yesterday, and actually the ties to actual people from the Obama administration who work at Netflix. Here's the thing. A lot of people can say, Crowder sucks. Fine. A lot of people can say, Not Gay Jared sucks. Fine. You want to say, the HodgeTwins suck? Yeah, fine. But you can't say Nick DiPaolo sucks. You can't say Norm Macdonald sucks. You can't say they're some of the best, most prolific stand-up comedians, certainly of our time. And I put you in that category. It amazes me. It's undeniable. It just goes, when the left says, no one on the right is funny, yours is the first name that I bring up. Yours, Norm, and there are a couple other people who aren't really out of the closet. No calls from Netflix, Nick? None?
No, we actually, well, here's a little inside scoop. You know Robbie Pra?
Sounds like a queer.
He was, well, I think he's Canadian, actually.
Well, it's one and the same.
He was moving up through the Montreal Comedy Festival, part of management there.
Yeah.
And I used to get him a headlock because he's a small little insecure guy and bully him and noogie him in the green room and throw ham at him. And of course now he is the guy who calls the shots.
Wait. You threw ham at him?
And maybe a slice or two. That might have been somebody else.
Okay, all right.
But I get uncomfortable around people who get uncomfortable around me.
Yes.
And he was one of those guys that made me uncomfortable because he was uncomfortable around me. But we used to joke around and I fake wrestle him and stuff. He's a little guy. And of course, anybody I ever picked on, even in fun, climbs up that ladder. Now he's the guy at Netflix as far as comedy specials go.
Yeah. You know what else I noticed? Actually, there was a lady I remember, since we're inside baseball, who cares? She's not going to hire me. Her name was Allison Cohn, and I did some shows with MTV, shot some, those crappy pilots of MTV game shows where they pay you barely more than scale. And at the time, I was young. I was a comedian, and I would say I wasn't the greatest comedian, but I was young, and in the realm of stand-ups, they thought I was hip enough to host a show. And I ended up losing one of them to a guy named Ryan Stout, who then wanted to blow his brains out because he had to host shows at MTV. And she would work there, and she really liked that I was young, and she liked that I was, kind of edgy. And I remember having a conversation when she found out that I was more right-leaning. She couldn't believe it. She was horrified. And I just saw her name in the Michelle Wolf Show. She was in charge of casting the Michelle Wolf Show. And I'm going, that makes sense. All the people I know who I said when I was coming up going, oof, I hope they don't become the gatekeepers one day.
Work for the melting candle.
We just placed the wrong bets, you and I, Nick.
No, well, yeah, they're the antithesis of look, we're straight, white, heterosexual alpha males. I mean, we are the last people they want to let get our message out or our comedy or anything else.
Yeah.
So, I don't even try anymore. I just, I'm going to, continue to put stuff up. Right now it's more of a focus is on my podcast than stand up. I don't do very much stand up lately,
Well, it's hard. It's hard. You get on. I've talked about this, and I don't know if you felt this, but I remember at this point you hadn't really run into it as much. You hadn't been punched by the angry patchouli wearing lady whose name we can't mention. I remember we talked about you're like, I don't think it's going to come to clubs, and I remember Jim Norton said the same thing. And I said I think you're wrong because I was from Montreal where I had seen it.
Rogan said the same thing.
Yeah, Rogan said the same thing, and I was from Montreal where I'd kind of seen it already. It was sort of pervasive, and it happened in the clubs. And I would get really bad anxiety before going on stage because of these comedy clubs don't have the best security. And I was at that point where I was already getting threats, and of course you're very vulnerable. Did you start to feel that way after that attack, or even before it when you came out of the closet politically? It added a new layer of anxiety for me for actual safety of myself and the crowd.
Not my whole. Yeah, well, clubs now make you, I don't know why this is in our job description. Almost every club insists that you kind of do the meet and greet thing after.
Yeah.
And I always said no, and they would say why. And I would say, well, a third of the audience wants to murder me. And I was joking back then. I'd be joking,
Yeah.
But now, today, why Rogan or those other guys would think it wouldn't spread to clubs. First of all, this is a nerd business.
Yeah.
This is the world's being run by nerds who hate guys like you and I, and they're attracted to liberal arts and stand up and whatever.
Yeah.
So that's number one. But number two, it's now you get kids who grew up with this PC shoved down their throat.
Yeah.
They're running the clubs now.
Yeah.
So. They actually believe in some of this stuff. Right. And I know, Metzger got skewered, and I heard about comics getting sent home for doing a rape joke. And then I get these people going, why don't you play Oregon? What are you kidding me? Why don't I play Oregon?
What did you taking your life in your hands if you go and play Oregon? But you did say so the podcast now is up and running, and you're focusing on that more because it's harder for people to kill you. It's not impossible. Don't do it from your bathtub, especially not after 25 oysters and a few beers. That it could end badly. So where's it? NickDip.com. And when does it air? And Was the attack was it kind of a turning moment where you said, okay, this is going to be my primary focus now?
No, I was going to do this anyways after getting fired for a tweet at Sirius.
Right.
Well, let's not forget about that. No, so I was going to do this anyways. But
you and Anthony Cumia, it seems like there's a trend. Remember when everyone said, like, oh, the last bastion of free speech is going to be satellite radio. You're free there. There's no FCC. And here we are.
Yeah. Well, there is no free for guys like you and me. And Twitter's fucking with me again. Every day I wake up, I'm losing 10, 15 followers for no reason. Yeah. It's stuck at the same number. And it really is. So this is a platform, hopefully, but I'm on Patreon, which is run by very liberal people.
Yes.
But I'm making money right off the bat. We had a great, the response has been great. The problem with, like I told you, I don't do much stand-up. When I do this focus on the podcast and topical news, as a stand-up, you can only put so much of that in your act, and then it's old in a week, and you get a giant hole in your act.
Right.
I can't seem to, they're two different muscles for me, stand up and whatever. But I was never intimidated, even now. Look, I play at the Comedy Cellar. It's on the campus of NYU. But I'm a little paranoid now when people come up to shake my hand. Yeah. I'm like this.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Nice to meet you, because that's how I got it. I was shaking a guy's hand when his daughter popped me in the face. So now, I for the first time, I sense a little of that. But when I do my podcast, I have my wife sitting on the front steps with my my shotgun. So
I can. Well, yeah, just as Joe Biden said, just one double-barreled shotgun fired off into the air. That'll take care of all your problems.
From Tennessee. He likes that shit.
I do think, though, it's interesting that you said this, because we're talking about Sirius Satellite. And I think what's important is people need to understand there's censorship, as it's defined, government censorship. Yeah. And then there is through bullying. And I know you just mentioned, okay, straight, white, alpha male. But the truth is, you're not the bully, certainly not in this industry. You're actually in a minority in this industry with your points of view as a conservative. There's censorship as we know it, and then there is a culture of self-censorship due to fear. So a good example is satellite radio. When it started, it didn't have the same kind of FCC rules. You could say what you wanted, but the culture of self-censorship is what got Anthony Cumia and Ewan in trouble. And they're trying to invade the clubs and even the podcast realm with the culture of fear so that people self-censor. That's what worries me.
That's exactly right. And the person that fired me, he's the higher up at, I got his name at Sirius. I did a little Google and stuff, and there's pictures like on his Facebook page of his wife at a gun control rally. And don't tell me that. One of my fans said it best on Twitter or something. He did an imitation of the meeting that got me fired with like Sirius. He said, "Is the product good? Yes. Do the people like it? Absolutely. Does it match my politics and my friends' politics? No. Okay, it's got to go." Yeah. So I thought that was fun, dead on. And I'm not holding a grudge against them because they still play my stuff and I get royalties coming. So
and there are a lot of conversations that you don't know about, like the HodgeTwins were here and they started out doing fitness channel stuff and they just happen to be funny and they're more right leaning. And what I love about, we were just saying this with the HodgeTwins, what I love is they're black guys and they tend to be conservative, but we don't have to be like, what are your black conservative talking points? We can just break each other's balls and they happen to be black.
That's true.
But their agent called them and they've been selling out big rooms, and their agent was like, yeah, we understand that you're friends with Steven Crowder. And they said, yeah. And he said, we do not agree with his politics. So make a note of it. So, exactly. So it's like if they're selling out the room, but that's the point. It's not even just monetary. It is ideological, and sometimes they let it supersede the monetary influence, which is what scares me so much. All right, listen, before you go, I did hear that you have some thoughts on smoking and vape people and the like. I'm just trying to lay you up here. I didn't know how to segue, but
I just started smoking because I had a lot of stress in my life. I'm not going to go into it. So I was, back in the day, I'd have one or two, maybe, if I was drunk or whatever. And then I just started.
With a bunch of oysters, you'd smoke?
With a bunch of oysters. No wonder why nobody wanted to, me sitting there with oysters by myself, smoking Marlboros. But that's real attractive. But yeah, no, I just started smoking. I had a lot of stress and I love it. I'm up to about a pack a day. And people go, why would you do it at this stage of your life? And I go, well, why would you do it in your 20s so you can have ass cancer in your 40s? I'm timing it out right. If a doctor tells me I have cancer in 20 years, I'm going to kiss him on the forehead. Okay. You see many happy 75-year-old people? They got that look on their face like, what? I wish I had cancer at this point. And by the way, sitting, Stephen, you're smoking right now because sitting is the new smoking, you know?
Yes.
And if that's true, wouldn't have Stephen Hawking been dead 38 years ago? Lung cancer.
Well, I don't know. And I also didn't see the movie, so I don't know his current condition.
I love the smoke, and I suggest all the kids at least try it once.
No, please don't. But I will say, don't. But you know what? I had Dennis Prager on, and we do enjoy a pipe or a cigar, which if you're not inhaling, the mortality risks are significantly lower. So try just having a cigar. I mean, you might find that you enjoy it as much. It's the combustion in your lungs that really will kill you. But if you're looking to get cancer, well then, be the Marlboro man.
Well, somebody said, try the vape cigarette or the e-cigarette. I said, I'd look less manly with a in my mouth, or more manly. I don't know if I that up. One or the other.
This whole thing it's okay at this point. It doesn't really matter, but it is true. Did you see that one guy we covered the story? The guy whose vape exploded. It exploded, and he right before it exploded, didn't he? Facebook put on his wall just vaping before work and uploaded a picture, and it exploded.
It was like a water, like a Looney Tunes, like
it took out half
on the
his
wall.
face, and the bathtub could no longer hold water. Like it blew up. I'm like, what was this? An Acme firecracker? I have no.
I do remember hearing about that. Now, ISIS took responsibility like 2 days later.
Yes, they did. They said until they realized it was self-inflicted and he didn't hurt anybody else. And then they realized he was vaping. They didn't want to associate with it. Okay.
Where do you find videos like that?
I don't know where we find videos like that, but it means that I live a horrible, very fruitless, meaningless life. It is nickdip.com where people can go and subscribe to your podcast and support you. And of course, if you do stand-up dates, that's where you guys would find it out there. Hey, Nick, I really appreciate it. I'm glad to see you're up and running with the podcast. And come back more frequently. I love you.
I will, Stephen. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Be well. Avoid the Birkenstocks.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the constitutional law that created this country, and some people don't. Faggots started liberalism. Mug Club can stop it. Join Mug Club for exclusive content, shows, and to help put a stop to homosexual liberalism. That's called the priorities.
Ooh.
Mug Club plug even in a riptide.
Ooh.
Even in a riptide.
Girthy.
I was just watching an episode of River Monsters. Did you ever watch that show?
I've yet to watch it, but I keep meaning to.
But by the way, thank you to Anne McElhinney and Philip McAleer. Married, two different names. It's a European thing. The HodgeTwins and Nick DiPaolo.
For a long-ass lower third.
It does make for a long-ass lower third and difficult to spell.
It is.
But we do all caps because of the font, so I think we're mostly fine with that. And McGinnis is a hard one. Now, River Monsters. There was some story about a riptide thing. But by the time it gets to the last season, he's just out in the open ocean fishing for sharks.
You know, the thing
which defeats the purpose of River Monsters.
With Netflix, I just need to make a list because every time I get to Netflix, I'm like, you know what? There was something I meant to watch, and then I sit there, I'm like, I don't freaking Seinfeld. It is.
Yeah, that's exactly what it ends up. Yeah, for me, it's like it ends up being Larry Sanders, Seinfeld. I've been watching River Monsters, and he's like, oh, I'm in the water fishing for a great white shark. It's like, what? Who cares? We know there are sharks in the ocean. The whole point was when you started, there was this crazy catfish with teeth, in Lake Erie. That was compelling. Now you talk about running out of ideas. It's like the ocean has things that bite. We know that. I was interested because I assumed the river was safe, and then you shattered my preconceived notions, and now you're just hunting sharks.
You get Bill Nye in there teaching us about the gender gap.
He's actually a really good host, though, Jeremy Wade. I wouldn't mind having him on the show. He's actually a really good host of the show, except he always states the obvious. He's like, I'm walking through the water. If there's a fish out here who could bite me, it would be very pleasant.
It's actually hard to come by a good host because you watch a lot of shows, you're like, you just have a radio voice, but you suck at everything. Like, have you ever watched Carson Daly do anything talented?
No,
it's never happened.
No, well, the key word is talented there. His mom worked at MTV. I think.
There you go. There's his in.
Now, that being said, you know what? I don't want to be too hard on these people. We're more so bothered with networks that just shuffle in their brothers or people with the right point of view. But Jeremy Wade actually is a good host. He looks like a catfish a little bit, so he didn't get by on his looks. And he comes
by the River Monster thing, honestly.
He comes by the River Monster thing, honestly. But, a lot of people going out, and I know the HodgeTwins have done some acting. We've talked about this, too, in pitch meetings when we write jokes. And I want to get to an email that was sent to me in a second. I'm trying to be really careful to not reveal any identity. But you know this, when it comes to jokes and something with the show, I've never been upset with anyone or even myself for strikeouts. I admire it. It's always when people don't take a swing. And you feel that way too with a lot of things. When people don't even take a, that's what's really.
I've had plenty of strikeouts with jokes.
Yeah, well, so do I. Not nearly as many as I have.
Yeah, you're taking more swings, but yeah.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yep.
That's the only reason. The only reason is your batting average goes up by 0.1% eventually. Nick DiPaolo, he's just bombed more than all of us for a certain period of time and got good at it.
That's a baseball thing too. I always thought was funny. Like batting 500, that's really good. But then it means you're missing half.
Yeah,
that means you're missing half.
Exactly.
That's not very. That's
the only thing I like about baseball. That's the only thing I like of it. It's
very encouraging.
It's very allegorical because I know my biggest regrets in life come from when I didn't swing the bat. And in your life, there are other people, by the way, who are counting on you to swing. So if you like baseball, like you said, I think the average is like a .255.
Yeah,
something like that. So you're going to miss most of them. But think about this: if you're in a team, right, like in real life, where people depend on you, and you have a .25, you miss it. But then the next guy has a .25, and the next guy has a .265. You just all make sure to swing when you're at the plate. That makes a huge difference. And you just, at some point, too, swinging the bat not only means in yourself, but trusting in people. And I've gotten this sometimes from my wife and been told that sometimes I invest too much and get too personal, get too close too quickly with people. And it's probably true. Sometimes I haven't set boundaries as well as I need to, and it'd be obviously easier just to become a cold cynic, but that's just, I've decided that's not who I am. I can't do it. I'll always be someone who has had really, really good close friends and personally invest in people. People as friends, people who work in the company, and we've had some pretty much actually we're friends with most people who've ended up leaving the company. Like, it's just been tough long term. People who come on the show, like the HodgeTwins, I have to invest in them personally because we want to be a good host. So we fix them up. We make sure they have a good time. Investing in people personally is taking a swing. Because the truth is, sometimes when you invest of yourself so personally, and this happens, you get burned. Think of any rough breakup that you've ever had. Well, I can think of, obviously, when I was going to say, you haven't really had a rough breakup ever.
No, I left them.
Yeah. Think of any rough breakup that you've ever had, or divorce, or friend you've lost over a fight. It's as painful as anything you can imagine. And that's because you took a swing. You invested in someone. You invested in a relationship. An investment, same thing with money, monetarily, that's swinging the bat. You never know. It's never a guaranteed outcome when you make an investment. Look at your portfolio. Has everything done well? You win some, you lose some. But would you rather never known at all? And I know this sounds cliche, but would you have rather never had that relationship if you'd forego the breakup? And by the way, let's assume that you say yes to that question. What about all of the other great relationships you have in your life? At some point, you made an investment, which is to say you took a risk, to say you swung the bat, and it panned out. Every good relationship you have is because of at some point you swung the bat. Every good thing you have in your life, unless it was given to you as a hand-me-down, which is a rare exception. Listen, I'm speaking in generalities here, okay? It comes from swinging the bat, from taking a risk. And at least you can know, going to sleep at night knowing that you tried. And by the way, this is what I was trying to relate to. I had an email from someone who works with let's just say it's a wounded veteran, not veteran, people who come back from war. So not necessarily veterans. Some of them are still active in the military. Some of them are wounded soldiers, sailors, without naming the program because there are a few of them. Reached out to me. I saw them at a 4th of July parade and then sent an email. And I remember the 4th of July parade, some of these really grizzled sort of, I hate to use the word warrior. It's used so often now it's lost a lot of meaning. But warriors, people who've gone to the forefront for their their countries, and we've gotten even some Canadian, let's say countries, some of them have been Canadian as well, and I know I make fun of Canada a lot, but listen, if you fight for your country, I don't care what country it is, as long as it's not a country that's beheading Christians. You fight for that country, we're just going to have to take you out, and I have no respect for you for fighting for those countries, but we're talking about the countries under good guy God at this point, okay? And I get a lot of messages from people in the military. The one guy gave me his Navy Cross, which we actually just put in a case that Key Grip Quarter Black Garrett gave to me, and I feel really grateful to get these emails. And the truth is, if you swing the bat, if you invest and you miss, a lot of these wounded warriors, wounded soldiers, wounded veterans who come back, they need help. There are programs out there to help them, and we've actively supported some of those programs on this show. But if you swing the bat and you fall flat on your face, not only can you try again, but guess what? You can get help. And the reason I bring this up, this email, is because these are some of the toughest people you can possibly imagine. Right? And a lot of them feel ashamed to go into this guy who emailed me asking his organization for help. It's like prison. Some of these people just have a hard time acclimating to everyday life. Why? Because they swung the bat for their country. They went all in, they gave everything. And here's the thing, when you give everything that you have, you end up with nothing left. And then their cup is empty. Now their cup's empty, and they kind of just need to refill it with everyday life. And a lot of them don't know how. And there was a very specific story, and I don't think there's any way for me to get into it without it, unfortunately, being too personal, that really touched me and brought a tear to my eye of someone who was absolutely, completely opposed to getting help, and their story was particularly horrific, and it ended up changing their life. They didn't know how to adapt. Going from 100, think about any time you've worked really late on a college paper or something like that, right? Picture this. You're studying all night, you've got your final, you don't know if you're gonna make it, and you're up all night and coffee, you know. A lot of people are using these smart drugs in college, and then all of a sudden you're done at 4 a.m. Can you go to sleep? There needs to be a come down. Picture that only you're being shot at. Picture that only you're literally in a foxhole and you see your friend's head blown off. Or maybe even someone doesn't die, but you know it's a possibility. And you're making the phone call that never comes, Benghazi, right? That's what happens with a lot of these people. They don't know how to adapt to everyday life. And that's the big difference when people say I've heard liberals use this argument, what about helping veterans? What about the VA? That's the difference between welfare, a handout, and getting help. The difference is in swinging the bat. The career welfare recipient is exactly that because they opted not to swing the bat. They chose the comfort of the check. The soldier who comes home and needs help needs some assistance because he swung so hard, as hard as he possibly could, that he threw his back out. Now I'll tell you this, if you've been burned, if you've been hurt, if you've been angry, if you're thinking of shutting yourself off from people, from the world, maybe from your dreams, from your ambitions, don't. If you're ashamed of getting help for whatever reason, don't be, as long as you're swinging the bat. Just make sure you're swinging the bat when those balls come down center plate. It sounds like one of those things that we hear a lot or is on. It is absolutely true. And if you swing the bat, you make investments in people, in your job, in your life. You win some, you lose some. But if you don't swing, you just lose them all. So just keep swinging the bat across the board. It always works. Better than not. See you next week.